This is Charter Local Edition. I'm Brad Pomerance in the Bay Area at the California Republican Party Convention. And we are joined by none other than Jim Brulte. He is the chairman of the California Republican Party. Gotta say, before we get into the nitty-gritty, congratulations. You are seen as a successful chairman. You've taken the party out of debt. You kept the Democrats from keeping a supermajority in the legislature. It's a pretty good couple of years for you.
Well, you know, I don't think the chairman should get the credit for everything or the blame for everything.
How about a little bit?
You know, we have a really good team around us. We have a lot of great volunteers, some of them who are at this very convention, and they are committed to winning more elections, and sometimes they just need someone to give them a little bit of vision and point the finger in the right direction.
But what is it about your leadership that has created that environment?
You know, we live in a selfie world. You know, everybody wants to be in the picture.
Right.
And my view is, I want to be behind the camera, not in front of it. And I want to train people and send them out to be spokesmen for our party. This is one of the few media interviews I do, as you know.
Well, we appreciate that.
And so my view is, I want to help our elected officials and our candidates be more visible. I want to lead by example. So when we have a campaign, I go and walk precincts.
And let's talk about 2014, the campaigns for state senate, state assembly. Your party won virtually every swing district and more.
Yeah, we won.
And more.
We had one loss.
Yeah, Jackie Irwin.
Yeah, but you know, I walked precincts in most of those. You know, leaders lead by example, and you can't expect volunteers to walk precincts if you're not willing to walk precincts. You can't ask volunteers to make phone calls if you don't make phone calls. I can't ask a contributor to contribute unless I write a check, so I write a check to the party every year. And I think when the volunteers see the chairman of their party doing the scut work,
right,
it inspires them to be willing to go out and do that.
I want to talk about the volunteers, many of whom presumably will become delegates to the Republican National Convention in Cleveland.
Yes.
It's a little confusing. We talk about, does Donald Trump get to 1237? Does Ted Cruz get to 1237? How does someone get to 1237, or at least how does a California delegate become part of the 1237?
Sure. Well, California has the largest delegation to the National Committee.
Who knew?
We have 172 delegates.
Right.
And we're almost a pure democracy.
Explain.
The candidates get to pick 169 of those 172.
By congressional district?
They pick 10 statewide.
Okay.
So each John Kasich, Ted Cruz, and Donald Trump pick 10 delegates statewide, and each of them pick 3 delegates in each congressional district. Whoever gets the highest number of votes statewide gets his 10. Okay. And whoever wins each congressional district gets the 3 there. So we're almost a pure democracy. The candidates pick the delegates. The voters then pick the candidates. The only 3 that are not picked by the candidates are the chairman of the party,
you,
the national committeeman and the national committee
Sean
Steele and Linda Ackerman.
Right.
But even we're bound to vote for the candidate who wins the statewide vote. So I'm bound on the first 2 ballots just like every other California delegate. So the California delegates are bound. Well, let's talk about the 10. Yeah. The 10 are bound on the first 2 ballots. What about the 3 per each congressional district? They're bound on the first 2 ballots. Interesting. I think the Democrats weight the congressional districts. So if a district has more Democrats, there'll be more delegates. Yeah. So the Republicans don't do that? No, this won't surprise you. I'm not an expert on how the Democrats do their thing. Fair enough. They do proportional. Right. So, you know, if you win 40% of the state, you get about 40% of the delegates. But we're winner take all by congressional district. I guess another way to put it is, look, there are some districts that are very Republican and some that are very Democratic. Regardless of how Democratic or Republican a district is, 3 delegates. Absolutely. And this is where organization comes in. Please. Up in the northern part of the state, where Tom McClintock, Congressman Tom McClintock represents, in 2012, there were over 90,000 Republicans vote in the primary.
Okay.
In Javier Becerra's district in LA, by the way, Javier and I were elected to the state assembly the same day.
Really?
I've known Javier since 1990.
Rumored to be a potential vice presidential candidate for Hillary Clinton.
If I lived in his district, I wouldn't vote for him, but I like Javier. I like Javier a lot. About 5,600 Republicans voted in 2012. Right. So if you have an organization and you can go into Javier's district and register or turn out another 500 Republicans, that's a significant chunk. If you do that up in Tom McClintock's district, it's kind of a rounding error.
And it's interesting you mentioned that because we've heard that Ted Cruz has really been working California, and we've heard Donald Trump not as much. Who knows? I mean, Donald Trump has motivated Republicans to come out that normally hadn't voted. But the Republicans, I believe, have a closed primary. Is that right? So you need to be registered as a Republican to vote.
Yes.
The Democrats, I don't think, have that.
You can be a declined to state voter and vote in the Democrat primary
but not
for president.
A Republican.
But you cannot. The delegates at the California Republican Party years ago passed it, so in presidential primaries, only Republicans can vote.
Let's talk about the Republican Party in California. There's no doubt that 2014 was a good year, at least in Sacramento. DC, the Republicans didn't win as many seats as they had hoped in terms of the close races. But registration statistics are coming out, and it seems as if Republican registration has been dropping. Democratic registration is flat, basically. No party preference, registration's going up. What do you make of this, sir?
Well, when I was first elected to the legislature in 1990, about 38% of the state was Republican and about 49% was Democrat.
Okay.
Democrat registration dropped from about 49 down to 42.
Right.
But in 2008, when Hillary and Obama had a primary, it popped up to about 44%.
Sure.
Republican registration's gone from about 38.5 down to about 28% when I was elected chairman of the party in 2000.
Yeah, you're right.
In 2013.
Right, it's about 27.5 now.
And when I ran for party chair, I was very clear to our delegates, if you want me, I'm going to always be honest with you.
Right.
The decline in Republican registration in California almost identically parallels the decline in the white population in California.
Interesting.
And so I always say,
But couldn't one argue that the Republicans should be able to make inroads in ethnic communities? Think about family issues, family values, we'll call it. Latinos are all about that. Think about African Americans, the party of Lincoln. I mean, one could argue that there's no reason why Republicans shouldn't be able to penetrate.
I don't disagree with you, but the Republicans haven't been doing that because they haven't been showing up in those communities and making a case for our point of view.
Can I tell you, I saw Karl Rove speak at an event for Senator Mike Morrell. He was assemblyman back then, and he talked about just showing up.
Yeah.
The Republicans have to show up. He talked about a congressman, and I think it was in the Texas area, huge Democratic district. He was a Republican. Why did he win? He kept showing up.
Yeah, by the way, Mike Morrell's my assemblyman.
You're right.
A senator
now. Right.
But look, I've always said there's not a community we can't compete if we don't go in and show up.
Right.
And one of my criticisms of the Republican Party leadership, and I don't mind speaking truth to power.
Sure.
Too many Republicans spend all their time talking to the choir. And what I tell every Republican group I speak to, I'm a Baptist kid from the Inland Empire, and my experience is most people in the choir are already converted. If you really want to grow to the party, let's get outside our comfort zone. Let's get into communities that we don't normally compete in. And if and when we commit and do that, we'll find Republicans in every community, in every region of this state.
Congratulations on your success. He is Jim Brulte. He is the chair of the California Republican Party. We're at the convention right now. I'm Brad Pomerance, Charter Local Edition.